Hey, it's Tim with the University of Vinyl. Thanks for joining me again today. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know that I was in Los Angeles this past weekend. I flew in Friday, back out Sunday night, late Sunday night. Very extended flight delay. If I would have known, if I would have known that the delay was going to be that long, I would have planned my last day a little bit differently, but anyway, it was a fantastic trip, very much a whirlwind situation. I picked up an Airbnb in Glendale. I was going to be meeting up with Jim from Record Collector News and Rob the Waxed. Jim had offered to kind of be the carpool driver. So we met up at Jim's place on Saturday morning. Started off the day by listening to a couple test records that he had, because I know he wanted to show off his system. He's got a great little record room / office in the backyard of his property. Beautiful location, fantastic place. Jim is an A1 individual in the vinyl community, as is Rob. I will support him as well, despite the controversy. Two great guys. Couldn't have thought of a better way to discover the creme de la creme of Los Angeles area record shops, at least northern Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley. That's where we were kind of focused. And I had a great time. I'm going to go kind of shop by shop. By the way, the Airbnb was fantastic. I actually found it on Vrbo. And pro tip, you could sometimes find the same property on Vrbo for slightly less dollars. So I booked it through Vrbo, and I was literally a 15-minute drive from Jim's place. So it was just absolutely perfect. Managed to get a weekend pass from my wife. I had been kind of working on this plan since late last fall. Life and some other things got in the way, but was able to make it work this past weekend. So we started our day. The first shop was Record Safari. You know, everybody I think has heard of Record Safari, and I found 3 records there. I picked up the '79 album Frank Zappa's Sleep Dirt. I'm not familiar with it, but if you know Jim at all, you know that Jim is a Zappa aficionado par excellence. That's all we heard in the car basically the entire day. We were shuffling through. Jim was shuffling through different Zappa tunes. He has a great story about interviewing Frank. I'm sure he will tell you that story amongst other stories if you ever meet Jim in person. Highly recommended. I picked up a Steve Kahn record. Steve Kahn, of course, played on most of the tracks on Gaucho. He was on Asia as well. He's done solo Fagan work. I think he was on End of the Century from Bright Lights, Big City. And I'm going to be putting together a Steely Dan adjacent video pretty soon. And of course, Steve Kahn is going to be featured. This was a gold stamp promo. You know, every shop that we hit was just awash in gold stamp promos and white label promos. If you dug hard enough, you would find those too. Makes sense being in the Los Angeles area. Okay, the next stop we went to was Atomic Records in Burbank. One of the best shops I've seen in a long time. I really loved it. You know, not to say that I didn't love Record Safari. You know, back to Record Safari, I've never seen as many new arrival bins in one place at one time. There were literally, I'm counting in my mind, at least 9 fully stacked bins of new arrivals at Record Safari. It was amazing. Back to Atomic. Really cool vibe in there. You know, definitely an old school shop. I think run by either 2 or 3 brothers. I think two of them were there, and very chatty, very friendly, very helpful. First of all, if you've never been to Atomic Records, you probably maybe have heard about their incredible wall. It is just something to behold. I've got a little video I'm going to feather in here, but that thing was absolutely amazing. The first thing I picked up is, the limited edition 10-inch, kind of an anomaly when it was issued. And this is a 2 record, so a 2 10-inch set. It came with it included a detachable button, which is actually the title of the album. Really cool. You can see that it's still there with the original kind of packaging. Let me tell you about the sound on this record. Fucking blew me away. Unbelievable. The bass lines from Graham Mabby were just incredible. Similar to like John Entwistle, Graham Mabby is kind of almost a lead bass player. Just incredible. So I have a reissue from the early 80s on A&M, U.S. pressing. This is actually a George Peckham Porky cut. It's translucent. It is a kind of one of those under-the-radar Quiet pressings. And this 10-inch pressing blew this Peckham cut out of the water. This is now going to be going to one of my local shops as a trade-in, get some credit. This is my forever copy, and it's a fun little 10-inch. The next thing I found at Atomic, a flawless near mint copy, gold label, gold stamp promo with the timing strip, Damn the Torpedoes, Pinckneyville pressing, absolutely flawless, sounds amazing. If you know this record, if you have an original pressing, you know how good it sounds. That's going to be one of my top 50 records in my collection as far as sound quality is concerned. Check out my ongoing series called The Crown Jewels. I'm featuring 50 of what I think are the best sounding records in my collection. But yeah, this is going to be making the cut for sure. The next record I picked up at Atomic. This is something I've been looking for a very long time. George Duke, A Brazilian Love Affair, 1980. This just happened to be a very nice white label promo, mastered at Alan Zentz. This has got to be one of my favorite fusion-y records. There's a lot of funk in here, some jazz inflections as well, but George Duke just, was a tour de force on this record. He is on several different synthesizers, keyboards, vocals on some songs as well. Playing with some Brazilian players also. I think the story is that he went down to Brazil and they cut this album there, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the whole history. I do know I used to have this on CD. I have been looking for this for a while. Never have I seen this in Colorado, including all the Denver shows that I go to, all the Denver shops, because I have been habitually checking out George Duke records whenever, in whatever setting, have never seen this anywhere, and I think I took the price sticker off this, $5.75 for a dead mint white label promo. Thank you very much, Atomic Records. Next up, one of the classic Sonny Rollins titles on Riverside. This was one of the original OJCs that came out in the 80s or late 70s. There is no barcode on the back. And as a general rule, you know that if you find one of these original OJCs with no barcode, you have to look at the catalog number as well. But typically, it's a safe bet if you don't find a barcode, you know it was an all analog reissue, recut. Looking forward to playing this. You know, Rob found this in a bin on the floor, and was nice enough to hand it to me because I expressed interest in that title. So happy to add this to the collection. Two more titles I picked up at Atomic Records, and they were both having to do with this upcoming video I have planned, the Steely Dan adjacent video I mentioned earlier. R.I.P. David Sanborn, who was an original member of the Brecker Brothers. This is a fantastic fusiony, funky record with a couple classics on it. Very cool lineup, including the aforementioned David Sanborn, Will Lee, of course, on bass, and of course the Brecker Brothers, but very much a Steely Dan adjacent title. Continuing along at Atomic, another gold stamp promo, Larry Carlton, classic record from Larry. Yes, that will be included in that Steely Dan adjacent video coming soon. So after Atomic, it was conveniently about 12 noon. We spent a lot of time at Atomic Records visiting, chatting. John Moreno from Pasadena was in the shop, said hello. John, good to meet you. That was awesome that you were there. He had a few tips on where to go in Pasadena, which is where we were headed next. Before we went to Pasadena, we had a really nice lunch just down the block at Porto's. Porto's is an institution in LA. I think they started in Echo Park. It's a Cuban restaurant, an incredible array of baked goods. Rob and Jim and I had the exact same order. We had their Leishon, slow cooked pork sandwich with pickled red onions. Really, really good. After lunch, we headed west to Pasadena. And I think the first stop was Pooh Bah Records. I know Rob got quite lucky there. He found 2 or 3 really cool jazz titles that he never sees in the wild. Check out Rob's video. He did a wrap-up video, including Jim and I, some footage that we shot in Jim's office at the end of the day on Saturday. I looked a little exhausted in that video, but we did show some highlights of what we found. So if you haven't seen Rob's video, make sure you check that out. Okay, after Pooh Bah, we went to a fairly new shop in Pasadena. This was kind of like a jewel box. I hate to know, I would hate to know what they're paying for rent, but it was really cool, very well curated shop. Really nice selection of top titles. 2 different kind of walls that had really top quality stuff on those walls. And I picked up something off the wall that I'm going to show you in a minute. Actually, 2 things off the wall. Kind of run by a younger couple, very kind of hip, very cool people, very friendly. They had a vintage Marantz. I noticed they had a vintage Marantz receiver and a vintage turntable, which I loved. And of course, they were spinning records. They had a really nice crowd in there. So congratulations to Sibylline on the shop and continued success. Really fantastic shop. I was really pleasantly surprised to find this on the wall there. This is Scott Walker's second solo record. Scott Walker, i.e. Scott Ingle, from the Walker Brothers, of course. An American from Ohio who moved to the UK to make his fortune. Don't know if he ever did make a fortune, but what an incredible guy who influenced so many people, including David Bowie, including Jarvis Cocker, and so many others. Hard to classify Scott Walker, but this was an original pressing. You can see that laminated cover. Came with the original inner sleeve, you know, the UK bag. Near mint condition. Really, really nice. And interested to give this a listen. Haven't spun it yet. The lead-off track is one of his most well-known songs, Jackie. Kind of a Baroque pop record. That was kind of what he was known for during this time period. Yeah, I saw that and instantly grabbed it, confirmed it was an original UK mono, and super happy. Another item at Sibylline, a 1974 repress of McCoy Tyner's Nights of Ballads and Blues. This is a great record. You know, I was reading a review online of this record, and there was like some critic who said, oh, you know, after Tyner left Coltrane in the late 60s and into the 70s, that's really the peak period of Tyner, and these records on Impulse were just kind of vanilla, a little by rote. I don't agree with that. This is beautiful music, really well played. What a player Tyner was, and this is a great near mint pressing. Really good price on this. Happy to find that. Okay, this was one of the finds of the day. And I know Neil Young is in the middle of reissuing all of his catalog on high quality vinyl, typically with Chris Bellman involved as a mastering engineer. But I saw the original pressing of Sleeps with Angels from 1994. This is a 2-record set. One side is taken up entirely by Change Your Mind, a great song. You know, I wish they would have done a gatefold back in the day, but this does have the original lyric sheet. It's got both of the records, of course, near mint condition. I paid pretty much what the going median is on Discogs for that. In hindsight, maybe I should have negotiated a little bit with that record off the wall. You know, I think they're open to negotiation there. I will say that for their wall records. But next, a Mingus title that I don't have and I'm not familiar with. Rob again said I should pick this up. It was a good price. It was also one of those original non-barcode 80s OJCs. Looking forward to spinning that. So after Pasadena, we made our way back to Sherman Oaks. We were going to go to Freak Beat, and that's exactly what we did. There is a Neil Young record that I actually don't have in my collection, one of the few. And, you know, being kind of a completionist for Neil Young, I wanted to get a good copy of Reactor. And I found another gold-stamped promo also. If you know, you know, there was only one pressing of this record that was pressed on the Qui-X2 vinyl, the higher quality vinyl compound that's dead silent typically. Anyway, you know, kind of put my my phone flashlight on and confirmed it was translucent. So this is cool. This was actually a record that was on I put together a hit list that I was going to be looking for, and I'm happy that I found this. So Reactor, Neil Young, 1981. This might have been the last record that he did on Reprise at the time before signing to Geffen. I'm not familiar with the songs on this thing, so looking forward to listening to this as well. Last but not least, in the late afternoon in Sherman Oaks, on the wall at Freak Beat Records, I found an original pressing, and it was another gold stamp promo of Jane's Addiction's Nothing Shocking, complete with the kind of discretionary label there, the warning, about the lyrics. Not sure if they talk about the actual cover or not. What a record! What an artistic statement from 1988. This is something that was on my hit list as well. I was hoping to find this, and I found it. Near mint condition, at the right price, tucked way up on the wall, which they had a very interesting selection of records at Freak Beat as well. Really great pricing for things that you could find in the bins there. And another old school vibe. I don't know how long Freak Beat has been around, but kind of old school with some older gentlemen running the shop. Of course, every shop we went to, everybody knows Rob, and everybody knows Jim because he is dropping off, the current issue of Record Collector News frequently. But that is that. This is just, whew, I have already listened to this, and what a dynamic soundstage. Very, very, late 80s sound on it. But, that band was absolutely amazing. I am looking for the Porno for Pyro stuff. If I can find that next, I'd like to find that. That is the wrap up. We finished the day back at Jim's. He was kind enough to invite Rob and I for dinner. We relaxed on his kind of back expansive patio with just a great vibe. We had some great pizza, some local pizza that he knew about with a little salad, a cocktail, listened to some more music, and eventually Rob and I made our separate ways to our different locations where we were. And it was a fantastic trip. If you're ever going to LA and you are acquaintances of these gentlemen, look them up. If they have time, I'm sure they would be interested in meeting up. And it was just a jam-packed day. And I came back with, I think, a dozen records I just went through, something like that. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll be back later this week with something new. That was the Los Angeles Record Junket trip. Take care.